this angle of ascent that we've had on this kind of rising trend line is starting to kind of taper over here a bit. As we talk about a potential correction in the markets, it doesn't mean that stocks have to actually decline to work off the overbought condition. That's certainly part of it. But one thing that stocks could do is just simply stop going up and just travel sideways long enough to allow these moving averages to catch up a bit. Here's what you need to know before the bell this morning. The market just continues to bounce along this 20-day moving average. Every time we touch that 20-day moving average, the algos step in, start buying shares, pushes the stocks back up to the top end of that trading range. That story hasn't changed at all. Yesterday, markets rallied a bit, right off the 20-day moving average, just as we have been watching just repeatedly ever since November. We've now gone 250 days without a 2% correction in the market. So it's been a very complacent rise in the market. Lots of speculative activity, lots of bullishness. And again, nothing wrong with that. And it's interesting now because as we touched on a little bit yesterday, is that I'm starting to see a lot of commentary back. It's like, yeah, Lance, you keep saying there's going to be a pullback, but this market's just going, this market's just going to go up from here. There's nothing going to pull it back. It's AI, it's whatever the reasons are. That's normally about the attitude you get when markets are very extended and very overbought. And again, that hasn't changed, and it doesn't mean that you're going to get a correction today, although markets are a little bit weaker this morning. But again, just kind of keep a watch on that. The one thing that we are seeing here, and at least worth kind of paying attention to, is that this angle of ascent that we've had on this kind of rising trend line, again, is starting to kind of taper over here a bit. And again, if the market's going to be a little bit lower today, we're just kind of getting this kind of rolling top in the markets. And again, that's kind of something you would expect to see before a bit of a longer correctionary period or a consolidation. There's as we talk about a potential correction in the markets, it doesn't mean that stocks have to actually decline to work off the overbought condition. That's certainly part of it. But one thing that stocks could do is just simply stop going up and just travel sideways long enough to allow these moving averages to catch up a bit. And that's also another way that you kind of work off some of these overbought conditions that exist in the markets. But again, this market is just extremely bullish across kind of all measures. One area of bullishness that we've seen a lot of lately, of course, and this has been since the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs, has been the cryptocurrency space itself. Bitcoin is now having a fairly decent correction. It, like Nvidia, and if you take a kind of an inverse look at the dollar, there's been a very high correlation between these more speculative assets like Bitcoin, like meme coins, like companies like MicroStrategy, etc., that have just gone virtually parabolic in the short term. And this right back here is where we actually launched those Bitcoin ETFs, and that was where the markets really kind of took off. Well, we've had this very, very strong rally, and of course now we've looked like we've pulled a top, and actually have kind of built a head and shoulders pattern here as well. We've taken out the 20-day moving average, which is now going to bring the 50-day moving average into focus, which is around 56,000 right now for Bitcoin. So there is potential here for a fairly decent correction in Bitcoin over the next few days as we kind of watch. But again, on a sell signal right now, Bitcoin's getting a bit oversold here. So again, kind of maybe expect to bounce before another kind of pullback here towards that 50-day moving average. Unfortunately, the 200-day moving average is at 40,000 for Bitcoin as of right now. Now that'll go up over the next few days. But again, very big gap because you had such a parabolic move in Bitcoin following the launch. Everybody just kind of piled in these Bitcoin ETFs all at once, caused a lot of buying. That's starting to kind of taper off here a bit, that initial excitement. So again, we are starting to see some cooling off in this speculative attitude in asset prices, which again could feed over into the actual major market itself. Just something to keep a watch on right now. That's what you need to know before the bell this morning.